Hello, everybody, and welcome to the session on non-gaming amenities and how they can help bring back your casino or enhance your casino. Today, my name is Scott Fisher. Uh, I'm the managing partner at Convergence Strategy Group out of New Orleans, and today I am joined by Bobby Soper, who's in Florida, Cynthia Kaiser Murphy, who's in Las Vegas, and Lana Couture, who's based out of San Diego. All are seasoned executives in the gaming industry from different perspectives. I'll introduce them a little further, and they can introduce themselves a little further. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the COVID effects of casinos in terms of how we're going to bring people back to casinos, as well as how to operate successfully in the new environment. I'm going to start out really quickly, just going around the panel quickly to think in terms of non-gaming amenities. What types of amenities do you see bringing people back the fastest, and which ones may take the longest? And from our panel, again, we have representation from the Las Vegas Strip, as well as regional properties, and as well as covering the entire United States. Let me just start with Cynthia really quickly. From your perspective in Las Vegas or on the Strip, where a lot is really built off of tourism, how do you see the market coming back? What would come back first, and what would be your strategy?
Well, thank you, Scott. It's a privilege to participate in this discussion at a time when our industry really needs it. I believe what's most important, we put health and safety top of mind. First and foremost, everything we do needs to be under that lens. And all of our people, all of the employees in the industry need to be thoroughly and consistently trained to deliver very personalized, very safe and healthy service. That being said, once we have the privilege of reopening, it will be very important for us to rethink the customer experience and how we can deliver much smaller footprint kinds of experiences. For example, what surprise and delight activities can we have appear on the slot floor, whether it be a hot seat or a spontaneous happy hour, to very small pods, perhaps just families or couples or small groups that are together. And I also think that taking a look in all of our gaming properties, anywhere, Las Vegas or any region, how can we use our outdoor spaces, maybe in ways we never did before? If you have a golf course, could you do a golf cart parade to welcome guests back? Could you have small footprint entertainment outdoors, extending patios of restaurants or at the pool, having soloists, live entertainment, having barbecues that are delivered more in a farmer's market style in booths, exploring those kinds of things to help people really walk before they run, come in very slowly. And I believe many of us in the industry have been talking to our guests about what they want. And I think now, in the weeks leading up to opening, finding out what things that they want to do most are.
So, Lana, at VisExplore, you deal with casinos throughout the country. In your experience, for what you're able to say on this, is your perspective from casino operators, or what you're telling them from a marketing perspective? Think that you're going after VIPs initially first, or basically throwing a wide net and seeing whether there's people that want to come gamble at all, or at least visit properties for one reason or another in the first place, and just hoping that you capture some percentage of those?
That's a very interesting question, and I would say most operators are kind of battling that balance between what the comfort level is of their market. And to Cynthia's point, it's different from market to market based on the governor's and mayor's directions as to what that looks like, but also the players themselves. One thing that seems to be a constant, and I imagine the same will be in Las Vegas market, is we don't anticipate that people will be traveling to destination properties as they did before, at least not in the initial ramp up in the first few weeks that we'll see. So what the operatives are kind of focusing on is what's in my immediate vicinity, who are my kind of core business, and how do I reach them first? While the operators, what I've seen as much as the governors are working together, especially in the Southern California market, to kind of do this in unison, right? To give that comfort level to the customers. It's still going to be very interesting to see out of 6, 7 casinos that I have in my immediate area, who do I go to? Who's made me feel the most comfortable? And one thing to remember, and what we're trying to kind of look to, is customers and players are still coming for an experience. So again, to Cynthia's point, while there's pent-up demand and there's a certain level of comfort you have to give them, that you are healthy, that you're keeping it clean, and that this is a safe place to be, you still want to be a form of entertainment for them. So looking for innovating ways to remain a point of entertainment for those who are looking to get out of the house. I think some of the things that we're seeing across the board is integrated resorts have become a thing in the tribal land as much as it is in Vegas and Atlantic City in the recent years. So leveraging your golf courses, if you have them, even certain areas of your spa and hotels, certainly, whereas the F&B outlets become a little bit more of a challenge where a buffet may not be as appealing as it used to be. Probably one of the highest grossing non-gaming outlets, probably not so much the case, at least in the first few weeks. So from our perspective and what we've seen and heard just dealing with our customers has been very much how do we leverage what we have, gaming and non-gaming, but also make people comfortable and retaining the level of entertainment when they are on property.
Thanks. Bobby, from your perspective, from a macroeconomic perspective, thinking about how casinos can come back or even how they can diversify going in the future, whether it's an existing facility or a facility if it's newly opening planned in the next year or so, how do you think things need to be structured or considered from that perspective?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Scott. Thank you for letting me speak today. So I think you need to look at what's happening and the impacts in two distinct ways, even though obviously they're very mutually related. One is the actual economic impact, right? And then the other is the psychological inhibitions created by COVID directly and the change in experience that Cynthia and Lana are talking about, on property. And as it relates to the latter, obviously there's going to be a change in the experience through social distancing, sanitization, limited occupancy, and there's going to be immediate effects from that, right? The casino model is large bricks and mortar, servicing a lot of debt. And it's very important to be able to peak the peaks, which they're not going to be able to do immediately because of these occupancy constraints. More importantly, I think in the long term, really, is what happens economically after COVID burns, whenever that is, or there's a vaccine, whatever the case may be. What are the long-term impacts? And I mean, if you look at 2008, it was an 18-month recession. But it really took 10 years before unemployment and some of those important economic metrics to find themselves where they were pre-2008. If it's something like that, we're going to have a very difficult journey ahead of all of us. And I think to the point that Lana made out, we have to plan. And Cynthia, I think also said we have to plan for all these scenarios, right? The short term, what are we doing to make sure that we can draw as many people as possible, creating the right experience to get them comfortable, leveraging our assets, yielding our assets through our database, but also planning for what may happen, in a long-term way from an economic impact that COVID has brought us.
So along those lines, and I guess Clarion might be interested in this question a lot, is from a conference standpoint, it's obviously a big driver of midweek demand as well as source of revenues from everything from F&B to rooms and so forth. How long do we figure that that's going to take to come back in full swing? And before it comes back, how do you fill that gap in terms of midweek room demand and just general F&B or other things that are related to it? Obviously, online is great. Good to see you all here on camera, but I know we all would like to be at a conference together safely. So starting back with Cynthia, from a Vegas standpoint, How do you see that impacting the industry and the timing of anything coming back, even if you try and reprogram all the other things that drive the tourism aspect? How do you bring back the midweek demand?
Well, there's a lot of work being done in the meeting and convention business now about creating really what they're calling hybrid meetings. There was actually an online seminar about that where you modify your regular format. A lot of times you have a few people who can't attend. So you have a room full of people, and then you have a component where people dial in some fashion. And now the balance might be you'll have an event and you'll have more people connecting remotely. So how do you make that into an experience? And as we come back slowly, as sort of the convention industry comes back slowly, the room occupancies are going to be reduced. With social distancing, you'll have far less capacity in a room, perhaps half or a third in the initial weeks and months. So you'll have to modify how you deliver meetings rather than, and there are groups that are planning certainly late in 20 and into early 21 that are reformatting. And I think that will be very important in the hospitality industry for us to come up with creative ways to make those experiences rich and engaging, even for those who initially dial in. And we think about how do we create loyalty and return from them at a future time when more people are comfortable with travel.
Okay. Again, going back in the circle, Lana, from your perspective on the midweek visitation, what types of things you think that customers are looking for to entice them? What really is an enticement now to go to a casino other than the gaming that you can drive to get people to come on a smoothed out weekly basis?
In tribal land, for sure, lots of that was very much reliant on conferences and trade shows, smaller ones. So I think that's going to be probably the toughest kind of area of their business to recover coming out of this. But what I do believe we'll see in regions like that is that those customers who have been, or players who have been cooped up at home will probably stretch and spread their time throughout the week. And particularly when you think about something that Bobby mentioned earlier, the economic impact this has had on the entire world, nation, and then down to our industry is tremendous. So from a player perspective, think about a bell curve that has completely crashed, and your VIP players are probably not so much VIP players anymore. And I anticipate we'll see this lull in the business, the pent-up demand that will be that immediate burst of business that we see. And then those who had to recover their entertainment wallets and their spend for gaming they had set aside before, who simply have to recover, get jobs, get some of that disposable income back in the pocket, and we'll see the lift come back up again. So to be honest, I really do think it's going to be your immediate market, your players who are just stretching as much as they can, coming in during the week and not so much maybe on the weekends, as they recoup their lives and try to kind of build back some sort of a but from the perspective of any sort of a conference, anything like that, everyone's going to have to be very tech savvy, very creative in how they drive that business back. And ultimately, it is going to be how comfortable are you making everyone feel in that region? And then also, what do the COVID new cases look like? I think that's going to dictate a lot of the response that we see in the gaming industry and how we can open back up and ramp up that non-gaming business.
Thanks. Bobby, I know you're busy as well in the iGaming world. How do you see that impacting the speed at which people come back to casinos, as opposed to saying, "Well, I'm not really jonesing to go to a casino right now. I can still play on my phone or my computer, and these other amenities, they come back, they're nice, but I'm not going to get sick on my phone." How do you see that impacting the speed at which bricks and mortar casinos come back?
Yeah, look, I view this period of downtime as an opportunity. I do think it creates, I think, a window of opportunity for those jurisdictions that are interested in pursuing online gaming. I think this period of time has illustrated the importance for operators who, again, are saddled by a lot of debt, that they find ways to recapture some of that revenue. I think that, and most of us in the gaming industry would agree with this, it's just a question of timing, that ultimately over the years, and if we look at the retail industry as a benchmark, there's going to be shifting because of taste and preferences. There was a survey done last year amongst all the generations, and millennials were asked, and this goes back to the old millennial thing, but the millennials were asked, of all the activities that you would, consider as a leisure activity, only 21% said going to a casino is, an activity they would consider pursuing. The same groups that were baby boomers and Gen X all had 40+%. And you can guarantee that Gen Z is probably even below that. And I think we've already seen that in the retail industry. And if you look back in the casino world, same store sales in very mature markets were already starting to decline over the past year and a half. And I think we're at the very beginning of what the retail industry saw 5 or 6 years ago. So I think it's inevitable, COVID or not, that we're going to move to online gaming, whether it's 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. This is a great opportunity for progressive, long-term thinkers in the gaming world to move forward and promote legislation, get their legislators on board so they have this as a tool to recapture some of that lost gaming revenue.
Thanks. We just have a few minutes left, so we'll just go to each of you almost like a closing on a debate stage. As far as your quick thoughts, as far as for things coming back, what direction right now would you be going in terms of from a marketing standpoint? VIP, mass market. What types of venues would open first? I mean, as a strategizer, what would you do? Start again with Cynthia.
I think what's most important in this era is that we are very personalized. We reach out and talk directly to our customers, whether it be the very loyal or whether it be the locals market. We ask them what they're looking to do, and we build experiences that are very small footprint to make them feel safe to come over. I think that it's important that those properties that open first in any area do a really good job and lead and show the way. I think we have a responsibility to do this right. And at the same time, to get people talking, to have a reason why people are posting pictures of their experience and posting on social media, creating a buzz. So what I would say to a team that's going to open is give those customers who come, albeit a much smaller number, something to talk about. Surprise and delight them in a very personalized way in your venue, in your market, at your type of property. And again, I still feel very strongly about finding creative ways to use our outdoor spaces, even at our entrances, thinking about how people might feel more comfortable for small outdoor gatherings or even stage. So if you have sort of some kind of music format, you have smaller groups of people coming through and they're spread out more. So I think it's those that to be careful and deliberate about how we return and do it in a very thoughtful and human, and basically be hospitable. Go back to having our employees do what they do best.
Thanks. Anna, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I'll just add to Cynthia and say that leverage your brand. You built it for a reason. It's strong, and that is just to add on to that all of the elements that we had just discussed during this panel. But to remain flexible and nimble. One of the things and trends with every one of our customers, and we have a footprint across the entire world, is being agile for this, having the ability to recognize that your player behavior is going to change, but then actively respond to those changes as you see in your business. So making sure that your technology is up to date, making sure that you are focused on the analytics, and then responding to that.
Right. We jump real quickly to Bobby. 30 seconds to go.
Yeah, no, real quick. I think the same thing. Communicate, show that you have concern. Surveys have shown that, outside of the vaccine, which is out of our control, consumers want to feel comfortable and safe. Temperature checks at the door for employees and guests, masks, all those things at the beginning. That communication is very critical. And then, of course, leveraging your database, your loyalty program, and I think communicating all of that.
Thanks, Bobby. Thanks to everybody for joining me on the panel. It's a great discussion. I hope everyone got something from it. Thanks.